Yes, everybody, we are back. 5 things we learnt against AC Milan last night at the San Siro, which, as the song goes, is never full, including when they play Manchester United. I still can't get used to this, me. The empty stadiums, I think it's absolutely bizarre. Last night's narrow victory at the San Siro did mean that Manchester United have now avoided going out in the second leg after we didn't win the first leg, and that's happened 7 times out of 9. So a bit of a rarity for us to actually go through when we don't manage to win in the first leg. But we managed to do it last night. So it wasn't a great start in the game, but we did come into it. Second half, we just looked like a completely different side. And I think that was just enough to get us over the line. It was a very narrow win. But of course, Milan isn't an easy place for United to go to. Before that 1-0 win, Milan had won 4 of the previous 5 home encounters that they'd had against us in European competition. And it wasn't looking good for us, to be honest, that we would be able to go and turn them over. On paper, their team looked great. They had Zlatan on the bench, and you're thinking, we're in for it here, lads. We're going to be up against it. And people was texting me before the game saying, what do you reckon? I was like, in all honesty, don't be shocked if we go out tonight. And it was tight, but I thought it was a very, very professional performance from United, and we've now progressed from our last 2 European knockout ties with AC Milan, having been eliminated in the previous 4. Is it progress against AC Milan? Not really. It's 2 clubs that are in a little bit of a downward time in their history, in it, so it is what it is. But it was a great performance, I thought, overall from United. Number 2, Pogba is back, and potentially because of Paul Pogba. Now, I think a lot of the easy analysis is Pogba changed the game. But if you actually listen to the likes of what Luke Shaw said at the end of the game, what he was saying is we weren't happy with our own performances. And I think as fans, we weren't happy with their performances either in the first half. The first half, we had nothing in the final third. We just seemed to lack any sort of intelligence, any sort of zip, any sort of quality. And when Pogba came on, some of it will have been down to Pogba's individual performance, but I think the entire team knew that they needed to do better in the second half, and they did that, and they took it on. And I thought Pogba himself, obviously, brilliant goal that he scored, but he was making chances. The most impressive thing about Pogba was the drives through the middle of the pitch for me. Those drives illustrate everything that Paul Pogba is. Skillful, intelligent, and absolutely jacked at the same time. The strength of the guy. Fred would have been crushed if Fred had tried to do what Paul Pogba did. Paul Pogba's literally carrying AC Milan players on his back and driving forward. Like, we have nobody else in the team that's got that skill set, that capability. He can beat you 1v1. He can drive forward and go through you. He can spray passes all over the place, and he can score. This is what makes Paul Pogba such an enigma, such a frustrating footballer to have to watch. Now, last night, his goal was just his second goal as a substitution for United and his 31st appearance off the bench, but definitely one of the biggest that he has scored so far. There's sort of a levelling up of what people think of Paul Pogba, but for me, it highlights what we lack when he's not played, and we've basically not had him for the last 2 years. There's a massive decision to be made, and I think the fan base is probably split right down the middle on this. Those who want Paul Pogba to stay and those who don't want Paul Pogba to stay. The one thing you can't deny is Paul Pogba's ability. It's literally undeniable, his ability. But can you get him to commit to the club and to actually really put himself out for Manchester United? Because if he does, there's not many better midfielders in world football. Fact. There are not many better midfielders in world football than Paul Pogba. But if he ain't going to turn up and do it and he doesn't want to be here, then he's a waste of time for us. But he was the catalyst for, I think, what ended up being a great team performance. And I think he just delivered something different that United really needed at the right time. And his goal was taken fantastically. So nice to have him back. Let's hope that he can also push us on. FA Cup coming this weekend. We've got Granada now in the next round of the Europa. And obviously, we've probably got second place to cement because I don't think we're catching Manchester City. Number 3, Dean Henderson steps up. Now, Dean Henderson was levelled at fault by the likes of Robbie Savage and several others, loads of people on social media for conceding against Milan late on in the first leg. I think he had a hand in it, but I don't think he was entirely to blame. I think the defence has to do a lot better with the cross from the corner. But he played a crucial part in United's win last night in the San Siro. Now, he made 4 saves on the night, 2 from inside the box, including that late one from Zlatan to deny a very late equaliser from point blank. That's what Dean Henderson is about. He's now kept 11 clean sheets in just 18 appearances for United this season, which is one more than De Gea has managed in 29 games. And you can talk about the calibre of opposition all you like. Dean's had to deal with the calibre of opposition. And last night, it was the biggest indicator, I thought, that he's probably, if not ready, approaching being ready to be United's number one. At what point does Ole bring De Gea back into the first team now, and how scrutinised is he going to get if that results in a mistake? I think the abilities of Dean Henderson are really standing out at the moment, and I'm not sure there's an obvious route back in on what's happened in the past for De Gea to come back in, because his performances this season and last season probably don't warrant being given another opportunity ahead of Dean Henderson at least. United's colossal defence. Now, against AC Milan, there was some pretty sticky moments in the game. Milan were on top at various points during the game, but the defence held firm, and particularly the 2 central defenders, I thought they were sublime. We played a very high line at times. We certainly didn't park the bus when we went to the San Siro, and I was really worried looking at some of the potential threats over the top or through the middle, and are we going to be able to contain that and keep up with that? And we coped all right with it. Harry Maguire was 91% pass accuracy, 79 total touches, 6 aerials, which he won 4 of, 5 interceptions, 5 clearances, and I thought it was a really good performance. Kept getting shunted over to the left-hand side, and I think from a tactical point of view, if you saw how Scott McTominay was dropping in and making the numbers up in the back line, I thought that was really good from United. Very well organised, very well orchestrated, and I thought very effective overall. Victor Lindelof, I thought he had a fantastic game for United. I think the European style of play really suits Lindelof a lot more than the more direct style of play that he sees in the Premier League. Pass accuracy last night was 93%, 69 total touches, 5 interceptions, 5 clearances, 1 block, 0 fouls committed. When the ball's moving into the channels, Victor Lindelof's reading of the game is sensational. I think that's the best attribute that he's got, is his reading of the game in those areas. I think dealing with the very blunt, aggressive sort of lower league style of attack that you see maybe up against more of your Burnleys and people like that, I think he struggles with that. When the ball's played into a channel on the floor, he copes with it fantastically, and I thought he was particularly good against AC Milan last night. We've only now conceded 1 goal and kept 6 clean sheets in our last 7 games, which I think when you look at what's going on with Tuchel at Chelsea, that's a very positive sign for them guys. And I think when you look at this run from Manchester City, a lot of the way that run started, the one that we ended even, the way that run started, the one that's put them right at the top of the Premier League and probably won the Premier League for them, that 21-game run, it started on a lot of 1-0s. You have to get the defence right, and then everything else falls into place on the back of that. You've got talented players, they'll go and score you goals. United have got a little bit of an injury crisis with our creative players. Hopefully Paul Pogba coming back in at the right time alleviates that just a little bit, but it's built on defence. And the amount of clean sheets we're keeping, is it a coincidence that the defence is starting to look a bit stronger now? Dean Henderson started to get a little bit more settled. Like I said, big decisions for Ole, and he'll get criticised heavily if he throws De Gea in and it goes tits up big time. The path to the final then, number 5. United now know who we are facing in the quarters and potentially in the semi-finals, and it couldn't have been much more favourable for us in terms of a draw. We're going to play Granada in the quarters, and they just edged past Molde in the last round, and the second leg is now at Old Trafford. Despite what's going on with no fans and how our form is at Old Trafford, you'd rather play your second leg at Old Trafford, I think. Should we get past the Spaniards, it's Ajax or Roma, which does represent a bit more of a tricky opportunity for us in the semi-finals, which has made a United versus Arsenal Europa League final a real possibility, and I don't really like it, to be honest with you. Arteta's really sort of worked his magic against United this season, and even though they've been garbage in the league, you just got to think that, have they got the will of it going in the Cup? We saw them do that with the FA Cup last season. Could they do that with Europa this season and get into the Champions League, the back door, by finishing 10th? It's the most Arsenal thing ever, isn't it? Now, you could argue that the Europa League represents the best opportunity of silverware for Manchester United, and you got to think that United are probably going to be in and amongst the favourites, if not the favourites, for this competition as it stands right now. But I have to think that we have to improve on our semi-final performances of late, and if we do that and put ourselves in a final, you got to back us. Even if it is Arsenal, who seemingly have our number, I think we're better than Arsenal, and I would relish the opportunity. You got to, aren't you? 90 minutes against them, no matter what's gone previously, you got to back this United side to beat that Arsenal side. Simple as that. Anyway, let me know your thoughts about this game and who we've got coming up in the next rounds, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Laters.